for the case styled in the interest of Naliah Parker and Andrew Parker Jr. children. This is a hearing on an adversary hearing. This is an adversary hearing in an emergency removal case. Are you ready to proceed?
Your Honor, due to the absence of my client, I would need to announce that we are not ready to proceed.
I appreciate the position you are in, Mrs. Fuller. Let me establish a couple of things that we discussed off the record, but let me put them on the record. Has your client been very consistent in remaining in touch and contact with you in preparation for this hearing?
No, sir.
And has she been in contact with you today regarding this hearing or regarding anything else?
No, sir.
And has that hampered your ability to assist Ms. Murket, who is respondent, your client? Has that hampered your abilities to do so?
Yes, sir.
The record will reflect that Ms. Murket is the one who requested a court-appointed attorney. The court reviewed that request and has granted that request. I don't remember the exact date that we signed that order, but it has been at least 2 weeks and maybe longer. This hearing has been set and rescheduled on at least 2 times. Ms. Rankin, do you recall the basis for rescheduling this hearing and extending the orders that have been extended?
Yes, Judge, the orders have been extended several times due to lack of service on one or both parents. We now have service accomplished on both parents, and I don't recall if one of the resets was because mother had requested an attorney and the attorney needed time to prepare, but that may have been a reason for one of the resets. But I know that service issues were reasons for the others.
Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
One reset was at my specific request because Ms. Murket was in a rehabilitation facility, but she's no longer in that facility.
Okay.
So I did request and you granted a reset in order for her to be able to communicate with me, but she has not availed herself of that option.
All right. And the other respondent, Andrew Parker, has now been served. Is that correct, Ms. Rankin?
Yes, sir.
And he has not appeared either in writing and he has not appeared through this in this Zoom video conference. It's my recollection that he has not contacted the court or the coordinator for the purpose of discovering how to join this conference. That information would have been provided if he had entered. Let me also, just for the record, reflect that representatives of To Engage are also participating and have been admitted into this Zoom conference. And then Ms. Hodges with CPS. I think Ms. Hodges is still with CPS instead of To Engage, but she is also participating by Zoom teleconferencing. Just one other matter for the record before one other matter for the record. The court is away from the office at the moment, and ordinarily I would have requested another judge to conduct this hearing, but quite frankly, the court's schedule did not give me the time to even schedule a visiting judge for today's hearing. And since we can do things remotely these days, I just brought my computer with me, and I am truly participating remotely. All right, I'm going to note Mrs. Fuller's inability to proceed adequately for her client without her client communicating with her, but I'm going to overrule any announcement of not ready to the extent that that would prevent us from proceeding with this hearing. And instead, we are going to proceed with this hearing. Mrs. Fuller, I'm sorry, Mrs. Rankin, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. The department calls Laura Hodges.
Ms. Hodges, would you raise your right hand and be sworn as a witness? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in this cause shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may lower your hand. Ms. Rankin, you may proceed.
Can you state your full name
Laura Hodges.
and how are you employed?
I'm a CPS investigator for the Department of Family and Protective Services.
When did the department become involved with the children, Naliah and Andrew Parker?
On April 1st, 2020,
And what were the allegations that originally brought CPS in?
the concerns were drug use by Misty Murket and her current paramour at the time, which when I found her, she was no longer living with him.
And were you able to alleviate those concerns, or was the concerns of drug use confirmed?
Your Honor, I'm gonna object. That would be hearsay.
Sustain, be more specific with your question, and perhaps we can address the hearsay objection.
Yes, sir. Were you able to rule out drug use as a concern?
Your Honor, I
No,
would launch the
we
same
won't.
objection. That'd be based upon hearsay.
Not necessarily overruled. Go ahead. You may answer, Ms. Hodges.
We were not able to rule out drug use, no.
Okay. Was the drug use from the respondent father or respondent mother?
Your Honor, object, it'd be hearsay. It's trying to backdoor hearsay.
Well, all right. Sustained as asked. Go ahead.
Did you have any conversations with the respondent mother about her drug use?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the court some of the things that she admitted to regarding that?
She admitted that she had had a problem in the past, and she also admitted to having a problem with alcohol. I had sent her for drug tests.
Okay. And when you sent her for drug tests, did she show up for those? Did she comply?
She would show up, but then the drug tests were not.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, outside of her personal knowledge. I'm assuming she was not present at the testing facility.
Your assumption is hearsay, and so
I'm pretty confident she was not present.
overruled. Go ahead.
She did appear to drug test a couple of times, but wasn't able to give a proper sample, and so we couldn't get a proper urinalysis test on her.
Do you know if any other state agency was supervising her?
Yes, she is under adult probation currently.
Okay. And do you know whether or not her probation had been revoked?
Not that I know of, no.
Do you know whether or not she was in compliance with her probation by drug testing for them and showing up for different meetings for them?
Your Honor, I'm object. That would be based upon hearsay.
Good. Sustained.
Did the respondent mother ever tell you whether or not she was meeting with her probation officer and drug testing with probation?
She did tell me she had an appointment at one time with them. And I don't know if she ever drug tested for them.
Okay. And so after you made contact with the respondent mother, did you ever make contact with the father?
No, I was never able to make contact with him after numerous tries and attempts.
Do you know his whereabouts right now?
I just have an address that we had in Cleburne. That's all I know. I don't know if that's really where he is or not.
Now, leading up to the removal, what were the different concerns that led up to the department taking action and wanting to remove the children?
Throughout the whole case, Misty had not cooperated with us as far as the drug testing and meeting with me when she needed to. And so we got a court order to drug test the children because of concerns that she was still using.
Were you able to drug test both of the children?
Yes.
Now, did the respondent mother transport the children for testing, or did the department?
The department did. I drove them myself.
Okay. And do you know whether or not the children were positive for narcotics?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Based on the, did you ever have any conversations with the children about drugs?
Yes.
Objection. Hearsay.
That's not hearsay to ask if she had any conversations.
Yes, sir.
Rule.
I hold my objection.
Okay. Were you able to ascertain whether or not the children had any knowledge about drugs or drugs being used in the home?
When I talk,
Hearsay.
Sustained, you need to hit your trigger faster.
Yes, sir. I'll just leave it unmuted.
Okay.
Okay. So after you tested the children, what was your next step?
due to the results of the test, we filed for an emergency.
Objection, Your Honor, to any reference to result of testing as hearsay and non-responsive.
Overruled. You can finish that answer.
We filed for an emergency removal because of the results of the tests.
Okay. And when you filed for removal, did you have any conversations with the respondent mother about potential placements for the children?
Yes, we always allow the parents to give us who they would like the children to be placed with.
Okay. And who did the respondent mother want her children placed with?
Her first choice was Sullivan Daniels, who was an ex-boyfriend of hers.
Okay. And was he approved?
No, he was not.
All right. The second choice?
Jocelyn and Brian Lomas.
And how are they related to the respondent mother of the children?
Just a friend, that somebody that she knows through her daughter.
Okay. Do you know whether or not she knows these people well, or the children know these people well?
The daughter, Naliah, the daughter, is very close friends with their daughter.
Okay. And did you make placement with the second choice?
I did. They were placed there for one day.
Okay. And after that, where did you place the children?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that last question. You were cutting out.
That's the court reporter, Ms. Rankin. Would you repeat your last question?
After that one night, where did you place the children?
With Carolyn Granados and Aaron Chaudez. Not sure how to pronounce his name.
Please spell it.
Chaidez.
And do you know, are these blood relatives or fictive kin? How are they related to these children and the respondent mother?
Carolyn's daughter is also a friend of Naliah.
Okay, so another kinship placement?
Fictive kin, yes.
And is that where the children are currently placed?
Yes.
And how have they done in that current placement?
When I still was overseeing the visits, they were doing fine. The Carolyn, had questions for me and was, coming to me with any questions or concerns that she had. Now to engage oversees those visits, so that would be something that would have to be asked of them.
Now, typically the department places children with relatives if possible. Did you look at any relatives for placement of the children?
The only relatives that we knew of at the time that had the children before, because Misty put them there herself, was Misty's dad and I guess stepmother. And I didn't do a full background on them to see if they were willing or if they checked out, because Misty did not want them placed there.
Did Misty or did the respondent mother give a reason for not wanting the children placed with her parents?
She said that her oldest daughter had lived with them for a while and she had some mental health issues and she blamed them for that. And she didn't want to go down that road again. And she said she felt like she didn't like how her kids acted when they came home from staying with them, is what she told me.
Okay. But after looking into this placement, do you know whether or not they're still willing to act as a placement for the children?
I think they might still be willing to, but to have them approved we would have to have approval by our PD and possibly higher up.
Okay. Is the current placement a long-term placement?
They said they were willing to be, yes.
Okay. And you already stated you had no contact with the respondent father, so you didn't get any names of relatives or a list of potential people that he would like the children placed with?
No.
During your investigation? Okay. Do you know when the last time the respondent father had contact with the children?
According to Misty, that he hasn't had contact with them in several years.
Do you know whether or not he supports the children financially?
No, he does not.
Okay. And do you believe it's in the children's best interest that the department continue as a temporary managing conservator and allow these parents to make contact with the department and work certain services?
Yes.
Do those services include individual and family counseling?
Yes.
Drug and alcohol assessment?
Yes.
Random drug and alcohol testing?
Yes.
Psychological evaluation?
Yes.
And then any family counseling that the children might need that the parents participate in?
Yes.
Are there any documents that the department does not have that the children need at this time, such as documents to enroll them in school or for medical treatment?
I was able to get their social security cards, I believe. I don't know about their birth certificates. Misty wasn't able to find them. She was in the process of moving and so forth, but those are attainable, and to engage might already have those by now.
And is the current placement, the Granados, are they within the same school district that the children were in?
Yes. And that was another reason Misty wanted, chose somebody there in Snyder. She wanted them to be able to stay in school there.
Okay. Now, did you have any conversations with the respondent mother about going into any type of drug or alcohol rehabilitation centers or outpatient treatment programs?
Yes, she had actually informed me that she was trying to get into different ones. And then she let me know that she got into Serenity House.
Okay. Do you know when she began, when she checked herself into the Serenity House?
I don't know. Not an exact date, no.
And is the Serenity House an inpatient program, outpatient program?
It has both, but she, the way I understood it, she was doing an inpatient program.
Okay. And do you know whether or not she successfully completed that?
I was told that she left early.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I don't know who told her that. So sustained.
Is she still at the treatment center?
Not last I heard.
Objection, hearsay, lack of personal knowledge.
That's already been established. If I'm not mistaken, you're the one that told me
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
that on the record, so overruled.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Fuller, do you have any questions of this witness?
I do, Your Honor. Can you tell me why the Scotts would need to be approved higher up since they had placement of the children prior?
They didn't have placement by CPS. Misty had placed them there herself. And then her oldest daughter also lived with them. They were never placed there by CPS.
Okay, well, why
And-
does it take approval higher than, I mean, you gave us the, or you gave me the impression that this is going to take something higher than your normal approval level.
Well, our PD could approve it, but Mr. Murket has an RTB, a reason to believe CPS history, and then also some DWI criminal history. They are from a long time ago, but that's not a decision I can make.
Okay, I was just trying to be clear as to why.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that you guys are aware that my client's wanting placement of the children with her brother, Waylon Murket, assuming the court
Correct.
grants removal.
Right.
Visited with Waylon? Was it you?
I'm
or
aware of it.
who visited with Waylon the other day?
Miss Dugan might have, yes, she did.
Was it you? Was it you?
Not me, no. Miss
Hold on
Dugan.
just a second. Hold on just a second. I see Ms. Dugan trying to have some input in the answer to the questions. And Ms. Dugan, that's inappropriate. You're not on the witness stand. So you can't answer, you're not to indicate what the answer should be. It's Ms. Hodges who's being grilled, who is being questioned by the attorney. Go ahead.
So you have had no contact with Mr. Murket yourself?
No, I have not.
Have you ran a criminal check on him?
No, because I did not have the case open anymore. It's now into engage.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. Morris, do you have any questions?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Hodges, did mom indicate to you that she had left inpatient treatment?
I did not speak to her after she left, no.
Okay, so when's the last time you've had any contact with mom?
Prior to her going to Serenity House.
Okay, do you know what month that was?
It probably would have been in early July sometime. I really don't know. I haven't had the case open in my workload since June 25th.
Okay, and so that's the last time you had contact with the children as well, is that right?
Yes.
At that time, did mom have stable housing?
She was living with Sullivan Daniels at the time that we were moved. She had just moved back in with him, and that's the last place I knew of her living.
And is that a boyfriend, or was it a boyfriend?
That was an ex-boyfriend that maybe, I don't know what they're calling each other now.
Okay.
Let me interject for some clarification for myself. Ms. Hodges, the question from Ms. Morris was, did Misty Murket have stable housing, living arrangements at the time of removal? You referenced she had moved back in or moved in with a boyfriend, an ex-boyfriend or something like that. But the underlying question, the actual question was, did she have stable housing? Can you address that specifically?
As far as a house to live in, yes. An
Right.
appropriate situation, no.
Well, had she been in that house very long?
No.
Had she been in other quote unquote houses or living arrangements before then?
Yes, she had a house in Sweetwater that they were living in.
Who is they?
Misty and the children.
Was anyone else living in that house?
Misty's mother, off and on.
And Misty's mother's name is what?
Tina Scott.
Is that the Scott that Mrs. Fuller's question inquired about?
I don't know what her question was that.
She asked a question about the Scotts, and I think it was approval.
And Your Honor, I think I may have misstated their name.
That's why I was trying to get some clarification. I thought that was possible, but until I get some clarification, I don't know.
Yeah, Tina Scott is Misty's mother. Her father is Leslie Murket. And that's who Miss Fuller was asking about earlier, was the Murkets.
All right. Ms. Morris, thank you. You may proceed.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Your
Ms.
Honor, may I-
Rankin,
I'm sorry.
Ms. Rankin, any follow-up?
No, sir.
Ms. Fuller?
Your Honor, I just want to ask just some questions following up on what the ad litem asked. At the time of removal, or what was the date of removal?
The June 3rd.
So it's my understanding, and I'm very limited on information. I'm at a huge disadvantage here, but the children had not been with Miss Murket several months before the removal, correct?
No, they had been with her.
Well, I thought they were placed during the investigations with Mrs. Scott.
No. Mrs. Scott was living with Misty and the children. They were all together. And then Miss Scott would go out of town, out of state, and they would be with Misty during that time.
And there was some indication to me that the children were left with the boy, the child, the male child was actually staying with some other people, correct?
No.
Well, you say here they're going back and forth between Snyder and Sweetwater. You're saying they're
With
going back and
Misty.
forth with Misty?
With Misty, yes. Misty was living part of the time in Snyder and part of the time in Sweetwater.
So you haven't had a conversation with the placeman about how long the children had been staying with her?
They were staying with her from the time I placed them with her when I did the removal.
So she had no relationship with them, had not kept them overnight, had nothing to do with them prior to you putting them in her home?
She had they might have spent the night with her way before we were involved, not after we were involved.
Did you discuss that with her?
Did I discuss what with her?
Where the kids had been staying?
With the placement?
Yes.
I don't know what you mean.
Did you discuss with the placeman how many evenings she had had the kids in her home before you placed them there?
Yeah, I did. We talked about that, and she said that they had spent the night at her house on other occasions.
Do you know how often?
No, the daughter more so than the little boy, because the two daughters were friends.
Okay, and where did you discuss with Mr. Daniels how many nights out of the month he had these children prior to removal?
They lived with Mr. Daniels 2 years ago, probably, like on a permanent basis. Misty and the children lived with him when they were in a relationship. Since they were in that relationship, I don't think they had had any contact with him overnight.
Did you have any discussion with anybody in this case about where the children had actually been staying before removal, spending the night?
Just the ones that I've told you, the placement and the original placement had contact with Naliah also. She had spent the night at their house because their daughters are friends.
Okay.
But during the CPS investigation, Naliah might have spent the night at the original placement's house a couple of times. And I believe the little boy did too during the investigation, because
your investigation started in April, right?
The investigation started in April, yes.
And you removed in June.
Right.
Okay, pass the witness.
Morris?
Just for clarification, Ms. Hodges, did mom ever drug test for the department as requested? I'm sorry, did she ever provide a hair follicle drug test?
No.
Okay. And do you recall how many times you requested that of her?
So, not an exact number, but several times.
Okay. And did you have conversations with mom prior to her going into Serenity House about drug problems?
Yes, yeah, we talked about it, and she admitted to me that she used, and that she had a problem with alcohol, and that she was going to go to treatment.
Okay. And did she say when her last drug use was?
Possibly, but I don't recall when exactly it was.
Did she tell you what her drug of choice was?
Methamphetamines, and she also she blamed the current use on the boyfriend that she was with, the outcome of the kid's drug test, I should say.
Okay. And so did she admit using around the children?
No, she said she did not. But you know, I explained to her that they don't become positive for.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Overruled. You may finish your answer.
I explained to her that they can't become positive without being exposed. So, and she was who they were with. So,
did she admit that the boyfriend was using around her children?
she did not admit that he was using around them, but she placed the blame, you know, that it could have come from him or from her mother, she actually said.
Okay. The Miss Scott that we've been talking about.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Pardon me, but I need a little more clarification. You referenced the boyfriend. Is that this Sullivan Daniels or?
No, not Daniels. I just went blank on his name. He was the boyfriend on the intake, but it's not Sullivan Daniels. He's a prior boyfriend.
Is it Mr. Villarreal?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
And I'm sorry, was that someone that she had been living with as well?
Villarreal, yes.
So going back to the stable household or stable place to live, did that person's involvement in where she was living, that is living with her or her living with him, factor into the question in your mind about stable household?
Allegedly, she had moved out of his home when I got the case, but that was part of the concern. That's where she kept going back and forth to when she would go back to Snyder from Sweetwater, would be to his house, and had been seen with him numerous times.
Your Honor, I object to that. That would be hearsay. I'm assuming she said that was the concern, means that was reported to her by somebody.
Sustained, even though I asked the question, that's a valid objection. Doesn't matter who asks the question. Did you have discussions with Ms. Murket about those allegations?
Yes.
And did she confirm or deny that she had been residing at times with Mr. Villarreal?
She confirmed that she had been residing with him.
All right. And did she confirm or deny that she was going sometimes to reside in Sweetwater and sometimes to reside in Snyder with Mr. Villarreal?
Yes.
Yes, what? I asked both.
She confirmed.
Okay. Thank you. That cleared up my lack of certainty about what your testimony was.
I just have one follow-up question to that. She did tell you that she had separated from him when you began your investigation, correct?
Yes.
And you don't have any reason to believe that she's been with him since April when you began your investigation? Any reason that would be based upon your personal knowledge?
Yes, the children told me that he was coming to the house.
After April?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Rankin, anything further of this witness?
No, sir.
Ms. Morris, anything further of this witness?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Fuller, anything further?
No, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges. You may be excused from the witness stand. Ms. Rankin, do you have any other witnesses?
No, sir, the department rests.
Mrs. Fuller, do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
Your Honor, just on the issue of placement, but I would ask for the court to deny the request for removal. I think the state has to prove, they have a really high burden to prove at time of removal that the children are in imminent danger, and I don't believe that that burden has been met. And so I would ask for you to deny the request for removal.
All right, motion request, whatever, is overruled. Ms. Morris, do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
No, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I do
Ms.
wish to call Keisha Dugan on the issue of placement,
Okay.
just briefly. Assuming she's the one that visited with Mr. Murket.
All right. Ms. Dugan, unmute and raise your right hand. You can unmute with your left hand if you want, but do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in this cause should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. You may place your hand down. Go ahead, Mrs. Fuller.
Will you state your name for the record?
Keisha Dugan.
And Ms. Dugan, you are the current to engage worker on this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the worker that had a conversation with Waylon Murket?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you have a discussion with Mr. Murket?
I contacted him last week.
Did he provide you with all the information that you needed from him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have a chance to check him out preliminarily? Run him through y'all's little checker?
Yes, ma'am. I ran his criminal history and his CPS history on him and his partner in the home, and they both returned no hits. They were clear.
And he is a maternal uncle to these children, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And has he expressed to you that he wishes to have possession of these children?
Yes, he has.
Does To Engage operate under the same, I guess, rules, philosophy, whatever, as the department, that you're supposed to place with relatives whenever an appropriate relative has been identified?
Yes.
Okay. And the placement right now, these are not relatives of these children?
No, ma'am.
Are you aware of any issues the current placement was having with these children?
I'm not personally aware of any, but it has been staffed that there were issues.
Okay. And so I'm just gonna, I mean, fair to say, if we can get these children moved with a relative, that's probably going to be more stable for these children as opposed to a friend of a child, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's my understanding that Mr. Murket, maternal grandfather, has some history, right?
Yes,
But uncle does not.
that's correct.
Where does uncle reside?
He's in Colorado City.
Do you know if he has a relationship with these children?
Yes, ma'am. I think that Mr. Murket had a falling out, he said, with his sister, but previously the children were very close and visited often, his children and Miss Murket's children.
Have you been out to his home?
Not yet.
Do you know where he works?
No, ma'am.
Do you know anything about the Murkets and their reputation in Colorado City?
No, ma'am, I don't.
He didn't tell you where he worked?
No, ma'am, it was just a preliminary information gathering session.
Okay, so what is To Engage's position with regard to, oh, and you understand that I provided the information on Mr. Murket several weeks ago, and on behalf of my client asked that the children be placed with the uncle, correct?
I was not aware of that.
Okay. How'd you get this information?
When I spoke with Miss Murket and she suggested calling him, and then I spoke to the previous To Engage worker and she gave me his phone number.
Okay. Who was the previous worker?
Miss Cara, I don't have her last name.
You don't know how she got that information?
No, ma'am.
So mother is requesting that the children be moved to a relative to her brother, correct?
I did suggest his name, yes.
So what is y'all's position with regard to that?
We are in favor of moving to Mr. Waylon Murket, as he is a relative and there's no concerns at this time with the household.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. Rankin, do you have any questions?
Yes, would this cause the children to be enrolled in a different school?
Yes, ma'am, it would. I did discuss that with him and he said they had gone to Colorado City schools before.
Nothing further.
Let me ask a school question. Do you know what the plans are for the Colorado City school system with respect to having class this next few weeks, starting class this next few weeks?
I'm not exactly sure, so.
Okay. What if they do not start in-person class? What kind of arrangements does the uncle have with, that is Waylon Murket, have with respect to providing virtual access for children to attend school virtually?
His partner, Miss Lawson, is a stay-at-home mother and can be home with the children and help them with their studies.
How many other children are in that household?
I believe she said there were 2 younger children.
All right. Younger, how old?
The one I heard talking was about 5, I think.
That was an intentional key to Mrs. Fuller so she could object to hearsay?
I didn't get unplugged quick enough, sorry.
All right. I'm sorry, Mrs. Fuller, do you have any other questions of this
Your
witness?
Honor, I know I'm not a witness, but I could proffer to the court that Colorado City starts school on the 13th. They're, sorry,
13th of?
this month, 2 days from now, 3 days from now. And they're offering both in person and remote by choice.
Okay. Mrs. Morse, Ms. Morse, do you have any questions?
I do, Your Honor. Ms. Dugan, how long have you been the to engage worker on this case?
I was assigned the case on August 4th.
Okay. And you were not on our conference call we had last week concerning this case and scheduling. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, so it's not correct?
Not correct. She was not on there.
I was not on the conference.
And so I can't really blame you, but I have been requesting placement info, family placement info for these kids for weeks now, and at least since last week when we had this conversation, and was not provided any information about Mr. Murket. Are you aware of that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and so I have, other than his name, and I received a phone number during this hearing, I mean, I've not had the opportunity to meet Mr. Murket or do any type of checks on him. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I couldn't understand from your testimony, you said that he was clear, but his partner was not. Is that what you said?
No, they were both clear.
Okay, I'm sorry. So neither one of them have any criminal background or CPS background. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. However, Mr. Murket has not had a steady relationship with mom, Miss Murket. Is that right?
I believe he said they had a falling out about in April.
Okay. And do you know the basis of that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have you been able to talk to mom about what the issues were between her and her brother?
No, ma'am. I've only had one phone call with Miss Murket.
Okay. And do you know what was the extent? I mean, I get he's uncle, but I mean, what was the extent of his relationship with the children?
He just told me that the children stayed over often at his home. His children stayed often with Miss Murket, and that the children were very close.
Okay. Do you know how recent that was that they had this close relationship?
I think it was before the falling out.
Okay, so before April?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did he seem, well, do you know if he had any similar concerns that the department had about his sister's drug use?
He did express concerns, yes.
Objection, Your Honor, that'd be hearsay.
Sustained.
And so he still allowed, though, his children to go stay at her house and then, of course, her children to come stay at his house. Is that right?
That is what he said.
Okay. Does the department have any concerns about his,
Hearsay.
Sustained.
does the department have any concerns about his protectiveness? That's my
Honestly,
question.
okay. We have just run his background as a preliminary to a possible home study, and we haven't exactly staffed him as a placement yet. We were waiting until the hearing.
And I believe you said you've not been able to observe his home, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Hold on. So that's not right. Her question was, you haven't done this, right? And you said no. So it's not right. Or is it right that you haven't done that? Listen to her question and answer her question. Ms. Morris, frame your question so that she doesn't give you an affirmative answer that is a negative.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Have you been out to see his home personally?
I have not visited his home.
And no one from To Engage has visited, correct?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. The children, if they stay in the current placement, would start school in Snyder on September 8th. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And when mom, and you may not know the answer to this, and you can tell me you don't if you don't, but when mom was traveling from Sweetwater in between residences in Sweetwater and Snyder, during that time, the children were enrolled in Snyder, correct?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Do you know where the children attended school last school year?
I believe it was Snyder.
No, object is being outside of her personal knowledge. Unless she's done some checking.
Sustained.
Outside of just them not being family, are there any concerns with the children being with Caroline Granados currently?
We did have a home study completed, and the person who completed the home study found that there were some concerning CPS history.
Concerning CPS history? With
Yes.
who? With who?
I believe it was with Carolyn.
Okay. And do you know how recently I guess those issues were?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so who from To Engage contacted me as the attorney and the guardian ad litem for these children to let me know about any concerns that they had?
I have no knowledge of who contacted you.
Okay.
Maybe a better question is, who should have contacted her? Ms. Dugan?
Previously, before August 4th, that would have been the caseworker, Kara, but as of now, that would be me.
And when was the study completed or the background done?
I do not have a date on that. The home study goes to my supervisor.
Okay. And when are we going to receive that information?
I can get it to you today.
Okay. And are the children having regular visits with their mother?
They have had visits, and there have been some that have been attempted and not completed.
Okay. By who's whose responsibility? I mean, did the children not come or did mom not show up?
Mom did not show up. Let's see, on 6/15, the previous caseworker contacted mom or attempted to contact her and was not able to. And she attempted to set up a visit. On 6/25, the children and mother met at McDonald's. On 6/30, mother and children met at the park. On 7/15, the caseworker attempted to contact mom and was not able to. 7:31, they met at McDonald's, and then I contacted Miss Murket on August 4th, and she said that she was getting tested for COVID right then at the doctor's office, and so we canceled the visit for that week.
So she's had 3 visits with the children approximately in the last 2 months. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other concerns about the children that the judge needs to be aware of?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Rankin, any questions?
Yes. Who's supervising the visits that the children do have with the respondent mother?
Before I took over the case, that would have been the previous caseworker, Cara, and now that would be me.
Okay. And are you requesting that the visitation remains supervised by To Engage or the current placement?
By To Engage.
And how long have the visits been, the ones at McDonald's and the park?
I believe they were 2 hours.
So 2 hours weekly supervised by To Engage?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have the contact information for the ad litem for the children?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Hold on, I got to interject or ask. Where would you ordinarily get the contact information for the ad litem?
On emails that would be forwarded to me.
Have emails been forwarded to you?
No, sir.
Would it be within the scope of your responsibilities to seek that out?
Yes, sir.
And from whom would you seek that information out?
Normally I would contact our legal.
And who is your legal?
That would be Miss Christine.
Okay. But you didn't contact her?
Not yet, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Rankin. You have any other questions?
No, sir. Pass the witness.
Anything else, Mrs. Morse?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Fuller?
Just one point, Your Honor. Ms. Dugan, on the home study, you said there were concerns. Did y'all file that home study?
I am not aware that it has been filed. I know that it went straight to our supervisor, but I can check.
Okay, who's your supervisor?
Anthony Rossetti.
The gentleman here on the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know whether it went to legal?
I'm not aware.
Is that something y'all normally would send to legal?
I believe so.
Okay.
It's a relatively new process, sorry.
I understand that. And so I'm hoping, and the judge will tell me to shut up if he wants me to shut up, but I'm hoping that we can handle this right here because we're having this problem in every case. Do you understand that the home studies are not, I mean, they're meant for everybody to have access to?
Yes, ma'am.
That? And that they're normally filed, they're normally e-filed into the case. And that's how we all get copies of them. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Pass the witness.
And if I could just interject briefly, any home study that I would receive, I would e-file for everyone's viewing, but it's my understanding that To Engage will e-file them once they're looked over by a supervisor.
Well, and I appreciate that, but Ms. Morris asked for Waylon Murket's information a week or so ago from you directly and didn't get it. So we need To Engage to understand that those things have to be forwarded.
The court is aware of some communication problems between the workers, be it CPS or To Engage. I've had To Engage, for instance, I've had To Engage employees show up for court hearings only to find out that those hearings had been rescheduled. That means that the To Engage representative did not have the information from their own, from the interior system. They didn't even have the information that the hearing had been rescheduled. That's a breakdown in communication going that direction. I'm seeing some breakdown in communications coming the other way, that is from either from To Engage or supervision or legal, that should go to the ad litem and represented parties. That just cannot continue. Just a couple of last questions from me, clarification if nothing else. How long will it be, if it isn't already accomplished, before we know more specific information about Mr. Murket, I'm sorry. More specific information like employment, other matters about the home and the conditions of the home and the size of the home as to whether or not it will hold 4 children and things of that nature. And Ms. Duggan, you may not be the one I need to ask that of, but you're the one on the witness chair right now, so let me ask you.
Yes, sir. I can contact Mr. Murket today and go visit the home as early as tomorrow. But as far as getting the home study completed, that could take a couple of weeks. I'm not certain.
Then I understand that. What would you ordinarily want to have before you were comfortable putting a child in a home?
I would want the background run to visit the home. But I think our policy might include having the home study completed as well.
If the child has been placed in a home, or children, and the children have been in that home now for maybe as much as 6 weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Has a background study been done on that home?
I personally did not do it. That would be the investigations, but I believe so.
Okay. Do you not have access to the home study if it was done?
Like I said, the home study went directly to my supervisor.
That's not my question. My question was not where did it go? My question was, do you have access to it?
I can look at it today, sir.
That's not my question. Okay, you have access to it.
Yes.
Now?
No, sir, I don't have it.
If you can get it today, then you have access to it today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you have had access to it yesterday?
Yes, sir.
I'm not meaning to be critical of you. I'm trying to understand how we're having, I don't have that information. I get that information from presentations like this. And I'm wondering, should I place the children? I mean, the issue before me is, should I leave the children in a placement that they're in right now, and nobody who is presenting material to me has had access to that information? As compared to whether I should place the child in a different home. Just so happens that different home is a relative's home, but good heavens, we know from many times that a relative's home is not a good place. A particular relative's home is not a good place. And yet, essentially what I'm being told is we wouldn't put those children in that home until we have a background study completed, which won't be completed for at least 2 weeks. Where do we put the children in the meantime? If I didn't have an existing placement, which, by the way, may have some real concerns. You got some answers? This sounds like I'm being critical of you, Ms. Duggan, and I do not mean it that way at all. How can you address those statements that I've made?
I would have to trust the investigative worker who placed the children at their current placement, that it was a safe placement in the meantime.
To some extent, as well as I understood it, that placement occurred because there was no other placement. But doesn't mean that's a good placement. Have I misunderstood that?
I wouldn't be able to say what that worker was thinking or why they came to that conclusion, Your Honor.
Well, you heard the testimony. You were in this hearing. You weren't excluded under the rule. Did I misconstrue it when I heard it and you heard it?
I don't believe so. I think that's probably correct.
All right.
Judge, is it appropriate? May I say something?
I don't know. Is it?
I'm not sure if this is testimony or what we're doing.
What's your thought?
Well, the background information I gathered was that this placement was a reference from mom because the daughters are best friends essentially. And in talking with placement, again, I haven't seen the home study by the department or to engage, but my understanding is there's some CPS history, but no sustained findings. And so I haven't, like I said, I don't know that that's accurate based on the report, but that was the information I gathered.
Okay, thank you. That was appropriate. You're the ad litem, and I think that's an appropriate observation for the court to hear. My initial thought after hearing all of this, therefore it's not my initial thought, it's my thought after hearing everything we've heard, is that the maternal brother, the maternal uncle of the children, very well may be an appropriate and the appropriate placement between the choices that we have. Ms. Morris, as ad litem, do you have a different thought than that?
I'm sorry, it cut out for just a second. Did you say you think he might be the most appropriate placement?
Yes.
Okay. I can't say that, Your Honor, right now. I've been in the home that I've been in the home that the kids are currently in. I've met with the placement. I've talked with the kids. And so right now, in light of the information that I've been provided by the department or mom's attorney or anyone involved in this case, I mean, I think they're safe where they're at right now.
Okay.
I haven't met the brother. I haven't been able to talk to him. I haven't seen his home. I never was provided, any information from anyone about him.
All right. And neither has the court. Thus the dilemma that I'm in. We have a relative who is because he is a relative, is more often than not the primary choice instead of a non-relative. Yet we have the children in the home of a non-relative and apparently doing fairly well.
And Judge, if I may, I mean, I know, there's a little bit of finger pointing about who was supposed to get that information and stuff, but you were on the conference call. I mean, I requested that information both from Ms. Fuller, and the department, just whoever wanted me to check out another placement, and received nothing. So my thought is, they don't want these children out of this home very badly or have grave concerns if the information wasn't provided to me so that I can exercise due diligence before this hearing.
All right. All very good points. I appreciate the input. Anything else? I think Mrs. Fuller, you were the one who was calling witnesses. Do you have any other witnesses?
Your Honor, I believe I could, if the court, I don't know how much time the court's going to allow, but I would like the opportunity to try to call Mr. Murket.
He is not with us, and he wasn't
I believe he can
called.
be shortly.
The court's not going to grant that opportunity, but so do you have any other witnesses?
No, sir.
Ms. Morris, do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
No, Judge, I do not.
Any rebuttal, Ms. Rankin?
No, sir.
Good. I was afraid you were going to say yes. Here's my thinking, and this is not a ruling yet, but this is my thinking. My thinking is that the children are safe where they are at the moment. At the moment, they should be likely they should be left there. It also seems to me, based upon too small a bit of information, that the maternal uncle, Waylon Murket, might be a good placement for these children, and that should be explored. That it should be explored very quickly, and that as soon as that is explored fully, that is the completion of the home study, for instance, Ms. Dugan's visit with them and visit of the home, and if the finding, if we've got a finding that that's a good place, a safe place, a place the children are familiar with, a relative, that the children should be placed there. School starting in Colorado City, this week, it would be beneficial if that could be done this week. I'm not sure that can be accomplished. I'm not sure what can be done without the court's involvement.
Your Honor, may I make a suggestion?
I'll listen to a suggestion.
You use the word home study, and that's a term of art for us. The department has in the past done home assessments from the caseworker, and that's where the caseworker goes out and does the preliminary walkthrough of the house. And so I would ask that be done within the 48 hours, and then the department make a decision about placement there.
But the reason I
That
use the
can be
word,
accomplished quickly.
the reason I use the word or the words home study was because maybe I wasn't focused on those words, but I thought there was a home study that wouldn't be completed, that was in the process, that wouldn't get the results on for 2 weeks.
Your Honor, that's going to be an actual home study by an outside provider.
But
Someone
that
in the
was
department.
something that was being stated,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But the home assessment can be done much quicker than 2 weeks.
I think Ms. Dugan said she could essentially do that tomorrow or by tomorrow. Is that correct, Ms. Dugan?
Yes, sir.
Does that create problems time-wise for you, Ms. Dugan?
No, sir.
All right. I do not want to order the children put in a home without knowing that it is a good home, a home where they would be protected, where they would be safe, where they would be nourished physically as well as emotionally. It sounds like the uncle's home is going to be one of those places. And if so, the children should be placed there. But since I don't have that in front of me, I don't have that evidence in front of me, and Mr. Murket isn't here and wasn't called as a witness, even though Ms. Fuller would make the efforts to do so. I'm not real sure where that leaves us. Ms. Rankin, I'd appreciate your thought.
And Judge, I don't know the court schedule. If I'm available, if we needed to have another hearing, or if you wanted all information sent to the ad litem and the ad litem submit a report to the court, either recommending or recommending placement with the uncle or recommending that the children stay in the current placement. I can keep all of the placement out of the order from today and do a subsequent placement order once that information's received.
I want the information to the ad litem for certain. Ms. Morris, are you comfortable in evaluating the information and making a recommendation to the court?
I am, Judge.
And are you open as we stand right now? I'm open. Maybe that's what I should have said a while ago. I'm open to that idea. That is the uncle being the placement. I'm not predisposed. I haven't already made a decision. That's my problem. I don't have enough information to make that decision. And so I didn't want my thoughts and my suggestions to cause either Ms. Duggan or Ms. Morris to try to tailor your responses to satisfy my preconceived ideas, because I don't have any preconceived ideas in this situation. So my question to you, Ms. Morris, and I certainly expect you and I expect that you would have no problems in telling me just very honestly, or give me a very, very direct and honest answer to this question. Are you open to the possibility of the uncle being the placement?
I am open to it, Your Honor. I just would, like to evaluate it personally, but I am open to it. And I understand that's the policy of the department to try to place with family.
And Judge, may I make one more suggestion?
You may.
Perhaps if the information was favorable regarding the uncle and the ad litem was comfortable with that, and we obviously know that it is the mother's wishes to have that placement made, I can also prepare a Rule 11 agreement for an agreed placement and where the parties would sign.
Ms. Fuller, you open to that?
Yeah, I've stated for weeks now that
Yes.
that's where he wants the child placed.
So that's why I figured you might be open to that.
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Morris, are you open to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then let's do this. Let's proceed on that basis. If that's a recommendation that Ms. Duggan, did you say Dugan or Duggan?
Dugan.
If that's something that Ms. Dugan also would recommend, my thought is wait a couple of days before submitting the order to me include the placement at that time if everything is agreed upon. And it kind of looks like that's a real possibility. And if it is not if it turns out not to be something that everybody can agree upon, then leave placement out of the order, and we will resubmit. Well, at this point in time, if it's not agreed to, then I'm ordering that the children remain where they are. It's my anticipation that it's going to be agreed to. If it's not agreed to, then we will then we'll leave the children where they are, but we will reconvene shortly to, and by shortly, I mean sometime next week, to take some additional testimony, including that from Mr. Murket, if that's what Respondent Murket's attorney thinks is appropriate as well. And we can further consider that that appointment. And I'm saying it that way because if it is agreed, then we don't have to have another hearing. Y'all just submit an order and that's been agreed to, and that includes that placement. If not, we have an order that continues the current placement, but we'll set up another hearing very shortly to provide the additional evidence that might warrant or justify the appointment of Uncle Waylon Murket. Mrs. Fuller, does that sound reasonable from your position? Can't hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Morris, does that sound reasonable from your position?
Yes, Your Honor.
Likewise, Ms. Rankin?
Yes, sir.
Then that's what we'll do. That's the order. Is there anything else before we close?
Just to clarify, regardless of the placement, will the visitation be ordered supervised 2 hours weekly by 2 Engage?
Yes. Is that everything?
Yes, sir.
Anything else from you, Mrs. Fuller?
No, sir.
I do have one quick question, Judge. Are you going to require a 10-day letter since I will not be able to obtain the respondent father's signature since he did not participate in court today and we don't have a good phone number or location for him at this time?
No, but I want it to go to Mrs. Fuller and Ms. Morris. If it's not signed off by Mrs. Fuller and Ms. Morris, then we're not appointing the uncle. If it is, then you can submit it without a 10-day letter since respondent father has defaulted. You can do it without a 10-day letter, but if it's agreed to and signed off on by the attorney and the ad litem, then I will sign it. If it's signed off by, including you as well, of course. And if it's not, then it's a different order. It's an order that leaves it in place, and we'll have another hearing and as whenever we can schedule it, which would not be this week.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then we are in recess. Thank you all. We're in recess.
Thank you, Judge.